Good morning. It's Saturday, the 9th of May, and welcome to this video from Yoker Evangelical Church. This morning, in our Bible reading plan, we read Numbers chapter 17 and 18, and we read Psalm 55. And this morning, I want to take a look at Numbers chapter 17 in particular, because it points us to eternal truths about God, and it points us to Jesus. If you've been following the plan, you will have seen through the book of Numbers that there is a bit of a pattern developing, where the people rebel against God and face punishment because of that. And the previous chapter was no different. The people were rebelling against God. They were opposing Moses and Aaron, God's chosen leaders. And in this chapter, God himself comes up with a solution to sort out this grumbling against him. He comes up with a plan to teach the people how they are to approach him. And this ties into a key theme of the book of Numbers. It is, how do we approach God? How do we come to a holy God on his terms in the way that he has desired? This is a really important idea because, as we see time and again in the book of Numbers, we cannot come to God in any way that we desire. We can't just make up ideas in our head and say, this is how I'm going to come to God. That is to do with the character of God. His holiness means that he cannot just be approached by anybody in any way. He has to set out how this will happen. We need to come to God in the way that he chooses. And in this chapter, God shows the people, here is the leader I have chosen. Here is how you are to follow him. And so what does he do? Well, he tells Moses to get each of the leaders of the 12 tribes to give him a staff and to put each of those staffs in the tabernacle. And God says, the staff of the leader that I have chosen for you, his staff is going to bud. There's going to be little flowers that appear on it. And so the leaders do this. They put all their staffs into the tabernacle and they go away for the night. And when they come back the next morning, when Moses goes into the tabernacle, he finds that the staff of Aaron has not only budded, but it's produced almonds. In one night, this dead piece of wood that Aaron has been using as a walking stick has produced almonds. It's an amazing miracle that we see. And in verse 10, we get this clear sign. This is to be a reminder of who God's leader is. Just listen to what God says in verse 10. The Lord said to Moses, put back Aaron's staff in front of the ark of the covenant law, to be kept as a sign to the rebellious. This will put an end to their grumbling against me, so that they will not die. The staff is to remain at the centre of worship as a reminder, this is who God has chosen as your priest. And so this is the way in which you can approach him. It's through this priest that God has chosen. There is a poetic harmony between this and the gospel that we hold so dear. Just as Aaron's staff is to be kept at the centre in front of people for it to see, that is why we hold up the gospel so often, because it is where we see so clearly God saying, this is how you approach me. It's through Jesus' work. The cross of Christ is how we are able to come to God. Just as for the Israelites in the desert, Aaron's staff was a sign, so the gospel is the sign to us. Jesus is the way to God. Aaron's staff will go on to serve an important purpose. It will be a sign to the rebellious, we are told. So to people who are prone to forget God's goodness and to turn their backs on him, God says in verse 10, this staff will be a reminder to them. And that is true for us as well. We are all rebellious. We all need this reminder. Secondly, it will stop grumbling because this is kept central. So to people who are prone to complain against God, perhaps to say in their hearts, that's not the way I'd do it. God, I think you've made a bit of a mistake here. This staff is to remain central for them so that they will remember who God is, how He has said they can approach Him, and that will calm their hearts. It will stop their grumbling because they see what God has done. And thirdly, it will be a reminder of God's grace. You see, when the people rebel against God at each and every time, they deserve to get sent back to slavery. They deserve that God would abandon them in the desert to die. This staff then is a reminder of God's grace to them, His mercy that He has poured out, that He does not kill them on the spot. As He says in verse 10, this will bring an end to their grumbling against me, so that they will not die. God's intention in doing all of this is that people will not die. He desires that people will not die. And all this just points us back to the cross of Christ. We see in the poetic harmony between this and Jesus' finished work signs that help us to follow Him today. Well, as today is Saturday, tomorrow is Sunday, I hope you will join us at 11 a.m. for our weekly Sunday service. You will find that on whatever platform you have found this video today. We hope to see you then. God bless.